Significantly with the burn pit, they don't find anything on the 6th, on the 7th, and then magically on the 8th, the bones suddenly appear in the burn pit. I mean, they're so obviously planted. They write the report that on the 7th, the cadaver dogs alert on an area that they think is a burial site west of the Avery property, right off of Cuss Road. And then on the 8th, the cadaver dogs alert by the berm in Stephen's backyard. That tells you probably how the bones were carried over, most likely on the 7th.
Directing your attention then to the afternoon of November 8th, approximately 1:30 in that afternoon, did you have occasion to meet with a Manitowoc County Sheriff's Officer by the name of Jason Jost?
I did.
Tell us about that encounter.
Prior to that, we were at the command post and we were asked to go out and take a look at a variety of different things, the earthen piles, the vehicles, and so forth. And along the way, we came across Jason Jost, who was standing in front of a red flag that had marked an item on the ground. This is the earthen pile here. We were standing just beyond it, about 8 feet beyond that earthen pile. And my opinion was, and I think we kind of agreed, that it was a piece of bone fragment. And after looking at that, I looked at this so-called burn pit and also noticed other, what in my opinion were bone fragments.
Welcome everyone to a Reading with the Crew special presentation. My name is Dr. Silkman and I'm from the Foul Play team. Today's presentation is entitled The Genius of Sergeant Jason Jost from the MTSO. I hope that you enjoy the presentation. All the opinions expressed in this presentation are my own. Looking at the events of November the 5th, 2005, this was day one of searching the Avery salvage yard. As evening fell, live scent and cadaver dogs zigzagged in and out of the sea of junk cars, hitting on dried bloodstains inside many of the vehicles, the result of crashes that had deposited them in this hopeless dump in the first place. But as the search and rescue canine teams approached the Avery trailer, another dog, Bear, Stephen Avery's vicious German Shepherd, growled and paced, preventing any searcher, 2- or 4-legged, from getting anywhere near the burn pit located directly behind Avery's garage. With all the other areas to be searched that night, it didn't seem like a big deal. Anyway, any junkyard dog protects its turf. 3 days later, that burn pit is where we'd discover Teresa Horbach's charred remains. In Mr. Kratz's book, he used this illustration showing Bear, and he titled it Avery's Dog Bear Guarding the Burn Pit. I quote, "But importantly, that burn area contained human remains. It contained obvious bone fragments. Even to the untrained officers that stumbled upon this particular burn area, even when they called over the crime lab to process this particular location, it was obvious that there were human remains in this particular burn area." Now, this next picture is particularly important because it was taken before any processing begins. There's the burn area that we're talking about. That's the burn area that contained the obvious human remains. You will see and you will hear from the officers who were at the scene that this burn area from the first night was guarded by Mr. Avery's German Shepherd. I believe his name was Bear. But this particular German Shepherd, not of the friendly sort, did not allow law enforcement officers to get close to this burn area, did not allow any of the canine help that was out there to get close to that area. And any time, law enforcement even got close to the burn area, Bear made sure that they were shooed away. Now, Trooper James Reese from the Wisconsin State Patrol took many photographs of Stephen Avery's burn pit on November the 6th, 2005. Trooper Reese also wrote a report, and interestingly, he had made no mention of an aggressive German Shepherd dog. There was no mention of any foul odor coming from the burn pit, and there was no mention of seeing bone or bone fragments, either in the grass or in the burn pit. In the extreme left and the extreme right, Bear wasn't paying any attention at all to Trooper James Reese. We must start with the events of November the 5th, 2005. Julie Kramer, who was from Great Lakes Search and Rescue K9, and she's photographed with her dog Brutus. Brutus was a 10-year-old Belgian Malinois, and he actually lived with Julie. Brutus was a certified human remains detection canine that detects human decomposition both on land and in water, as well as detecting human cremains. And in actual fact, this was used in his certification. Brutus had extensive search experience, logging in some 6,000 hours. In fact, he was the most experienced and advanced canine at GLSR K9. Brutus had been on 150 human remains detection cases, and he had found evidence or human remains in 80 of those cases. He was last certified in 2005, passing both wilderness and urban human remains detection testing. Brutus had worked in landfill and junkyard areas that have contamination and successfully found human remains. Brutus alerts or indicates by sitting and barking to his handler. Brutus had an extremely low error rate in false positives and negatives. When we die, we all smell the same. HRD canines have an incredible sense of smell. They detect the smell of death, the persistence of human scent. Even though cremation involves temperatures between 1400 and 1800 degrees Fahrenheit, the process doesn't always destroy 100% of the organic signatures that dogs identify as human. Modern cremation reduces a body to bone fragments, which are then processed into ashes. Research suggests that even these calcined remains retain specific trace volatile organic compounds, also known as VOCs, that are unique to humans. Typically, these dogs can detect human decomposition from around 50 to 200 meters on open land. With detecting skeletal remains, the dog's ability is quite high and the scent is quieter but is still very distinct. With cremated ash, the dog's ability to detect it is moderate or high, and it requires specialized focus. The scent is chemically simplified but still unique. If we look at Stephen Avery's burn pit, it was on open land. Skeletal remains were found in Stephen Avery's burn pit, as well as ash. So what did Brutus do on November the 5th, 2005? Brutus and Julie came out of Stephen Avery's trailer, went as far as the propane tank, but stopped because they heard a dog barking nearby. Brutus was then leashed. Now Brutus will bark back when a dog is barking at him. This is known as sounding off. Brutus then ran, while leashed, to the Yunder residence where the 4 burn barrels were located. He alerted on 2 of them. Barb Yunder had 2 outside dogs and Stephen Avery had 1 outside dog, Bear, that were not removed by the investigators while the HRD canines were searching the Avery salvage yard. Later on in the investigation, bloodhounds, live scent dogs, were also used in the searches. We can roughly work out where Julie and Brutus were. They were near the propane tank. They did not search Stephen Avery's burn pit, but instead Brutus ran all the way down to the 4 burn barrels next to the garage in the Yunder residence. And you can see here outlined in red the kennels of Barb Yunder's 2 dogs. And Brutus had hit on 2 of the burn barrels. And you can see here in this photograph the location of Barb Yunder's 2 dogs. Question: he alerted on those? Yes. Where did he go from there? There was another dog barking. The weather at this point was very bad, so they asked me to secure him, and we then returned to base. And the other dog was over by this blue trailer? Yes, and we exited the property off-site of this picture. We came out to the road. We can see the positioning of Barb Yunder's burn barrels and the location and proximity of one of the kennels. And Brutus had alerted despite 2 dogs being present in the general area. And if you look to the right hand side, top picture, you can see the 4 burn barrels that were packaged up and taken away. Evidence tag 7964 was Yunder burn barrel number 2, and it was discovered by the investigators that there were human cut bone fragments in this particular burn barrel. They found a long bone shaft fragments, a possible metacarpal fragment, vertebral fragments, and a scapular fragment. On the right hand side at the bottom, a picture showing a bone fragment that is human, it's been cut, and it's been burnt. There are hesitation cut marks. Despite Barb Yunder's 2 dogs being outside and barking and in close proximity to Brutus, it did not stop him from going to and alerting at 2 of the burn barrels. Turned out that one of the burn barrels, Yunder burn barrel number 2, contained human cut burnt cremains, indicating that Brutus had performed what he was trained to do. And Brutus had alerted with extreme animation and excitement at the burn barrels. Did the presence of Bear impede Brutus from alerting at the larger collection of human cremains? This also included desiccated muscle tissue in Stephen Avery's burn pit. And how far away from the burn pit was Julie and her HRD canine Brutus? 2 law enforcement officers did a walkthrough video of the Avery salvage yard on November the 6th, 2005. Also in the same walkthrough video, there is a video still image of one of the detectives standing next to the propane tank, and you can see Bear in the background. If we look on the right hand side, you can actually see the perimeter of Bear's leash. Anyone standing in the green circle could be potentially reached by Bear. There were actually 4 dog teams that had checked the vehicles in the Avery salvage yard. Deputy Kacharski went with one of the dog handlers, Elaine McLean, to search the junkyard area. Kacharski was a dog handler himself. He knew that Bear was present because he had heard him barking. No dog handler was called in to remove Bear. Bobby Dassey had retrieved his Labrador puppy from the Yunda residence. Both Detective Remaker and Deputy Kacharski attempt to examine Stephen Avery's burn pit. Kacharski stated that Bear was being vicious and Kacharski had in fact pulled out his weapon. Remaker and Kacharski decided not to search the burn pit or shoot Bear. There were 19 dog handlers on the Avery salvage yard and surrounding areas. None of them were called in to remove Bear from the burn pit area. Carla Avery and Barb Yunda feed and water the 3 dogs, and that included Bear, in the evening at around about 7:30 p.m. They were not asked to remove any of the dogs, and they were escorted to the location of the dogs. Now we turn to the events of November the 7th, 2005. Enter Sergeant Jason Jost. He's been with the MTSO since 1991. He is regarded as being a video and evidence technician, Special Operations Squad member, and a field training officer. I, Deputy Siders, along with Sergeant Senglob, Sergeant Jason Jost, and Deputy M. Bushman, responded to 12-930 Avery Road, Twin Rivers, which is Avery Auto Salvage, to assist the CASO with searching the property and the surrounding area. Once on the scene, the OIC of the CASO did break up search groups. The search groups included the MTSO, the CASO, and the volunteer firefighters. The group which I was put in was Group A, and the team leader was Deputy M. Bushman. Also in the group were officers from the CASO and volunteer firefighters from surrounding FDs. The property which we were to search was a wooded area on White Cedar Road, west of Avery's Auto Salvage, in addition to the property north of Stephen Avery's residence. Deputy Siders had discovered the burnt electronics in Stephen Avery's burn barrel. Sergeant Seglob allegedly spoke with Thomas Sawinski on November the 6th. Sergeant Jost had alerted fellow officers about his feelings regarding Stephen Avery's burn pit and that it should be examined. He had located bone fragments and cremains in the burn pit and he helped sift it. He also was searching Redon's quarry and the Manitowoc County gravel pit with several HRD canine teams. Deputy Bushman was also a canine handler. He had found the clandestine burial site at Cuss Road. How do we know about Sergeant Jason Jost's activities? We found that out from 2 important phone calls.
Hello, Greg speaking.
Yeah, it's Jason.
Yeah.
What number is Kelly at, the lieutenant there?
Todd, I think it's still out there. I don't know what that command post number is.
Because he wanted to talk to me, I guess, about some of that stuff that I found.
What stuff? Oh, in the fire pit?
Yep.
I thought DI agent or... you're the one that found it?
Well, I directed their attention to it originally, and he wanted to know what time, some times for me, I guess.
Oh, did Todd answer the radio?
I didn't try him at all, so I don't know if Todd's with him or what.
Yeah, he's out there.
I mean, if they're out in the field, I can try and get a hold of them tonight when I come in, or I guess he wanted to talk to me to try and narrow down some times.
Yeah, try Todd on the radio.
Okay.
He's right there by the command post, and then from there, if that not, I'm sure Kelly will be there all night because Brett was there last night. He did night shift duty last night. So I would say that...
Kelly's the guy with the mustache.
Yeah, mustache, a little bigger guy, a little pudgier.
Yep.
So, yeah, I'll always stop in there, and I'm sure he'll be there tonight, too. But Todd's out there right now.
I'll see if he give me a call. All right.
Okay, very good.
Thanks.
Sounds good. Bye.
The second call by Sergeant Jason Jost occurred on the same evening at 9:22 p.m.
Jason, police to talk to you about the other day.
What's that?
Simple need to talk to you. He's right here.
I was going to step up there unless, well, that's fine. Put him on the phone.
No, that's fine. He said he'll stop there if you want. You want to talk to him? Yeah. And tell him Church 61 sitting up here because 45 was having problems, so Charlie brought that back.
Okay, I'll let him know.
You might have to take a different car or bring a different one up here, switch it, whatever you got to do. If you want to come up, that's fine. Here.
Hey, good. And yourself?
Not too bad.
Yeah, I heard Mr. Sergeant Orth told me he wanted to talk to me about some times.
Yeah, we just need to clarify, because I walked out of there before you did, and did you help them excavate it all?
Yes.
Okay. I'll need you to do up a report on that, because the arson investigator wants a report from everybody who basically touched upon it, more or less. So, from the time that me and you walked in, and you pointed out that you saw that other piece, and then you pointed out that piece to me of the vertebrae. And then we stepped back. Those two DPI agents came in, the female and the male. I don't know their names. I know the male is Tom Sturdivant. I don't know the female's name.
Well, the female really didn't have much to do with it. Tom stayed there.
Okay.
At one point I left and he stayed there because I needed to, use the bathroom and everything else.
Okay.
So he stayed there the whole time. Then I came back with the crime lab.
Okay.
And once all their units got there, then we started sifting through it.
All right. Yeah, I've been basically a nice report from you to solidify that. If you want to know who was all in there, basically, and the times that they were in there. So just put something together on paper and attach it to your incident report, and we'll file it that way then.
Would you happen to have the log from when that septic tank was pumped? I don't remember which one of your officers was there.
Oh, that was the Brilliant officer.
Was that Brilliant? Okay.
Yeah. Got here one?
Because otherwise I'll stop up there and I just want to look at a couple times on there because I had relieved her for a short time. Then when she came back, that's when I decided to come and talk to you about that.
Oh, okay.
Then then the two of us came back, and then that's kind of where it progressed from there.
Yeah.
So.
All right, why don't you stop out then?
I'll do that.
I'll dig that log out, and I'll have it ready for you then.
Sounds good, Phil.
All right, take care.
Thanks, I'll take
Bye.
Bye.
Lieutenant Kelly Sipple wanted Sergeant Jason Jost to write up an official report. Jason Jost wrote up a one-page report, an MTSO report. Now, one thing about Sergeant Jason Jost is that there's a very limited amount of information about his activities. However, he was mentioned by other law enforcement officers. Sergeant Jason Jost was not called up to testify, despite being at some crucial locations both on and off the Avery salvage yard. We need to find out where exactly Sergeant Jason Jost was on November the 7th. And we have these log in and log out timesheets, and we can see that Jason had logged in at 7:45 a.m., logged out at 8:19 a.m., logged back in at 10:25 a.m., logged out at 11:32 a.m., logged back in at 2:14 p.m., logged out at 3:01 p.m., logged back in at 3:39 p.m., logged out at 3:55 p.m., logged back in at 4:15 p.m., and finally logged out at 5:33 p.m. That was a total of 5 times that Jason Jost logged in and logged out at the command post. I was asked to feed the dogs which were present on Stevens' property and also at the residence to the east of Stevens. I remembered seeing the burn pile at that time while I was feeding the German Shepherd, which was tied up behind Stevens' garage. I noticed there were some items tangled in the cable that the dog was fastened to. While feeding the dogs, MTPD Officer Jason Koenig and MTPD Officer Wilterdink assisted me. Due to the aggressiveness of the German Shepherd, I was unable to retrieve the 5-gallon pails which were placed next to the kennel, this being where the food and water are kept. We were able to keep the German Shepherd far enough away from us so that I could pour some food on the ground and also fill up a small water dish. You can actually see dog food that's been poured onto the ground, and next to it is a small white bowl allegedly containing water. Both Carla and Barb had fed the dogs one day prior, and you can see the white bucket that's surrounded by the black square in the background. That bucket was full to the brim with dog food. Why would Sergeant Jost be feeding the dogs in the middle of a case? And quite clearly, he was in the proximity of Stephen Avery's burn pit. One of the officers who was with Sergeant Jason Jost was Officer Jason Koenig, and he happened to be a canine officer and a dog handler. And what is interesting is, despite Officer Jason Koenig being a dog handler, Bear was not removed from the burn pit area. On 4 occasions where he logged in and logged out, another gentleman by the name of Howard Kieslewski, who was from the Canine Search Dogs team, also logged in and logged out at exactly the same time that Sergeant Jason Jost did. I was able to find this report from the Calumet County Sheriff's Department, and you can see here that Jason Jost was the group leader, and in his group there were 2 dog handlers, Jeffrey Benzo and Howard Kieslewski. This group had searched Redon's pit north of the main entrance on County Highway Q and also the area of the trailers. This report was not mentioned in Jason Jost's MTSO report. So what was Jason doing with these dog handlers in Redon's pit? On the back of this sheet were several GPS coordinates, and let's go through the points. Point 1, it says patch of ground. Point 2, tracks in field deer. Point 3, carpeting off Jambo Creek Old. 4. Photo taken of track by pond by entrance. 5. Front end loaded track pictures. 6. Mud flap old. 7. Bare ground spot photo, looks like it's highway Q and a GPS coordinate. Sheriff Mark Wiegert had denied that these photos exist. There was also another incident group time log in which Jason Jost was the group leader, and this time they were in the county gravel pit and also along the conveyor. Interestingly, Jason Jost was with Sean Metzner, Michelle Metzner, Jeffrey Benzo, and again with Howard Kieslewski. They were all canine dog handlers. So what was Jason Jost doing in the Manitowoc County gravel pit with these canine dog handlers? Again, it was not mentioned in Jost's MTSO report. Why was Sergeant Jason Jost searching Redon's quarry and the Manitowoc County gravel pit with human remains detection canines and their dog handlers? Why didn't Sergeant Jason Jost document these searches in his MTSO report? And who told Sergeant Jason Jost to feed the 3 dogs on the Avery salvage yard? On November the 8th, Sergeant Jason Jost clocked in at 8:56 a.m., clocked out at 11:52 a.m. He also logged back in at 12:17 p.m. and then at 5:20 p.m. he logged out. And this is what he wrote in his MTSO report. This was on November the 8th, 2005 at 9:15. I, Sergeant J. Jost, was assigned to assist with searching junked vehicles in the Avery Auto Salvage Yard. We were attempting to locate any piece of evidence that may assist with locating the victim in this case, Teresa Horbach. After completing that assignment, I was asked to temporarily relieve a brilliant police department officer by the septic tank located on the property of Stephen Avery. At 12:47 hours, I, Sergeant Jost, drove Unit 70 down to that property. I allowed Officer Joanne Mignon to take a break. Officer Mignon gave me the log sheet and she then drove Unit 70 back to the command post area while I was sitting for B&M waste removal to return from Green Bay. I walked towards the south end of the property, still keeping watch on the septic tank. While at the southwest corner of the property, I noted the burn pit area, which was located to the south of the garage for Stephen Avery's residence. So, where was Sergeant Jason Jost coming from in Unit 70? Who was supervising Sergeant Jason Jost at Stephen Avery's burn pit while Joanne Mignon was gone? And why did he note the burn pit area if he was there yesterday feeding bear? Again, going back to 11:08:05, while I was standing near the southwest corner of the Stephen Avery property, I noted several items laying within close proximity to the burn pile. These items were as follows. There were numerous rings of wire laying in and around the area of the burn pile. I recognized these as steel beltings from inside tires. There was a tire which had not been burned. This was on the southeast corner of the burn pit area. There was a rubber mallet which was on the grass southeast of the pile. There was a metal hammer, believed to be a claw hammer, laying on the ground northeast of the pile. There was a gravel shovel which was tipped upside down, located on the west side of the pile. There was a burned, charred metal scraper with a wooden handle attached, which was laying northeast of the pile on the grass area. There was a frame from a bench seat that appeared to be from some type of vehicle. This was located in the grassy area southeast of the pile. The cloth or vinyl material which had been on the seat was burned off the frame. While still walking on the southwest corner of the property, I noted there were several tires laying on the ground in that corner. There was another bench style of seat in the south side of the property. This one still had the material attached to it. And as you can see in this diagram, all the objects that Sergeant Jason Jost had described that were present at Stephen Avery's burn pit. Earlier, when I had been in the command post area, I remembered someone mentioning that Joshua Radon had checked on his hunting trailers on Monday evening. He saw there was a large fire burning near Stephen Avery's property. The fire was described as being larger than usual. I, Sergeant Jost, started to piece all of this information together. I felt this area, if not already looked at, should be checked for any type of evidence. When Officer Mignon returned, I spoke with her about my feelings of the burn pile. She stated she also felt that something was unusual with that area. Upon returning to the command post, I made contact with CASO Lieutenant Sipple. I explained to him that I felt the burn pit area specifically should be checked further. He responded to the property with me. Without disturbing the area, we walked close to the burn pit to take a further look. I mentioned to him that due to the aggressiveness of the dog, it was very possible that the other canine handlers may not have walked their dogs this close to the area. This also may have hindered officers from specifically going to this location. As we were looking at the ashes laying in the area, it was evident that someone used some type of front-end loader to remove ground from this particular location. The ashes were inside this area. As we looked at the ash pile, we observed that there was a bone laying near the south side of the pile, on the east side. Without disturbing the bone, I looked at it as closely as I could. It appeared as though it may have been a vertebra bone. I could see another bone in the pile. At this time, we decided that someone from the crime lab or DCI needed to further investigate the area. Not mentioned above was that Lieutenant Sipple had walked to the pit with me at approximately 13:41 hours, and he left the area at approximately 1400 hours. Sergeant Jason Jost had made the connection to Joshua Radon's observations on November the 5th. He wanted other law enforcement officers to examine Stephen Avery's burn pit. He went to get Lieutenant Sipple. He had observed a vertebra bone and another bone in the pile with Lieutenant Sipple. He also wanted the crime lab or DCI to further investigate the area. I, Sergeant Jost, remained at the burn pit area. A short time later, I believe it was Tom Sturdivant from DCI who walked over to the burn pit with one of his female partners. Utilizing a small twig that was present, Tom moved the bone mentioned above. Without touching it, it still appeared to be some type of vertebra bone. He moved some of the steel belting wires which were located on the east side of the burn pile and found there appeared to be several other items which appeared to be burns. One piece appeared to be in the shape of a part of a skull. Based on this information, I returned to the command post to speak with the crime lab. Members of the crime lab responded to the scene. Using their sifting equipment, they sifted through the majority of the burn pile. They located numerous bones and teeth which were present amongst the ashes. These items were later given to the CASO for processing. Despite finding cremains, a vertebra bone, part of a skull, in Stephen Avery's burn pit, neither Wiggett, Fassbender nor Pagel went to the burn pit to investigate. This was in stark contrast to the many officers and resources that showed up at Cuss Road for allegedly a peat moss bag and a rotting wooden pallet. Shortly after 1340 hours on Tuesday 11/08/05, I had the opportunity to speak with Sergeant Jost with the Manitowoc County Sheriff's Department. Sergeant Jost indicated to me there had been a large burned area behind the red garage on the Avery property, located in the northwest corner of the property. He felt that this area may not have gotten searched properly based on the fact that there was a large German Shepherd in the immediate area. I then responded to that location with him, where we took a look at the burn area. Inside the burn area, I observed a small greyish material that appeared to be bone. Sergeant Jost also pointed out a piece located in front of me and to my right, at which time I could tell that the item he was referring to appeared to be bone. He also pointed out a large piece which was directly in front of me and to my right. This bone, from looking at it, appeared to be part of a person's spinal column. In these two items, I could observe from where I was sitting a honeycombing and their center mass. This honeycombing was familiar to me due to the fact that as a child my parents owned a butcher shop, and at times we would burn some of the bones of the animals that we butchered. And when cleaning out our burn area, I had the opportunity to observe this same type of event happen in those bones as what I was seeing in the bones within the pit. As we were looking at these particular items, two State of Wisconsin Department of Criminal Investigation, DCI, agents approached our position. One individual I know as Tom Sturdivant, and the other individual is a female agent, and I do not have her name. I informed the agents that we observed what we felt were several pieces of bone. It should also be noted that prior to checking the burn area, I observed that the area had not been disturbed. It appeared that due to the previous heavy rains we had through the weekend, that being Saturday night, Sunday morning, where we received approximately an inch plus in rain, there was a crust over the top of the burn area, the burned ash and materials. It did not appear as if anybody had previously dug into or moved anything within the pile. The two items that we observed were lying directly on the top. With the two agents on scene, I then moved out of the location and advised the command post that we had possibly found some bones. Sergeant Jost remained back with the two DCI agents. When we located the Wisconsin State Crime Lab, they later returned to the location to excavate it. I, Lieutenant Sipple, went off duty at approximately 1500 hours. This is a DCI report written by Thomas Sturtevant on the 8th of November, entitled Search Scene Burn Pit. On Tuesday, November the 8th, 2005, at approximately 1:30 p.m., while at Avery's Auto Salvage located at 12930 Avery Road, Two Rivers, Thomas A. Sturtevant, along with Pete Thelen and Deborah Strauss, were requested to examine various locations of interest, e.g. earthen sites, ash piles, vehicles, items of interest, etc. These locations had been identified by search teams, e.g. state troopers, during a systematic search. It was necessary to determine if the locations or items had any evidentiary value. Eventually, Sturtevant, along with Deb Strauss, examined an item that Deputy Jason Jost, Manitowoc County Sheriff's Department, had marked with a red flag. Deputy Jost was standing near the item, approximately 1 inch in length, and suggested that it might be bone material. Investigator Joanne Mignon, who was monitoring the emptying of the septic system for the property, had also looked at the item. The item was located behind South Stephen Avery's detached, single-story, faded, light blue and red, two-car garage and approximately 8 feet south from the raised dirt pile, consisting of rock and sand. A burn pit was at the end of the gravel, and Sturtevant noticed what appeared to be other charred bones. Sturtevant had previously worked in the Arson Bureau and had some experience with charred remains, to include charred bone. Sturtevant recognized the item to be what he believed to be bone matter. A short distance north towards the rear of the garage from this item was a pile of charred debris. Sturtevant observed additional suspected charred bone material within and around the debris pile. Some bone material was intertwined within what was believed to be the remnants of steel-belted tire wire. Also observed by Sturtevant was what was suspected to be skull bone. A large, intimidating, barking and charging German Shepherd dog stood atop the dirt pile. The dog was on a long leash and could reach from the north edge of the dirt pile to the south edge of the burn pit. The doghouse was also on top of the pile, and the leash appeared to be secured to it. The dog was positioned such that the dog prevented people from getting near the dirt pile. The dirt pile was located directly behind the garage, south side, which is to the east of Stephen Avery's red trailer. The elevated dirt pile, 1 foot by 2 foot in height, was approximately 30 feet wide by 30 feet in length. In diameter, the dirt pile, rock and sand area was as wide as the garage. The specific area of interest, burn pile, was at the south side of the dirt pile and centered at the end. At approximately 6 feet rectangular area, gravel, dirt and sand had been removed, scraped down to the ground level surrounding the pile. From the south side, dug into. And this was where the burn pit was located that contained the charred, incomplete bones. The dirt pile appeared to have been added, dumped on top, to the existing landscape, grass, lawn. Sturtevant had been told that there were burn barrels throughout the area, and Stephen Avery had allegedly burned animal carcasses before. Therefore, the discovery of suspected bone material did not seem that unnatural or unusual at the time. However, Sturtevant felt it was important to collect the material and have it analysed by the crime lab. The site could be revisited if it contained human remains. The site was not excavated below the soil or processed completely. The charred material was sifted rapidly due to approaching darkness. Why weren't tower lights ordered in for the burn pit processing when they were used at Cuss Road 1 day prior? Also, a forensic anthropologist would be able to ID the cremains. Why was Sturtevant speculating on the species origins of them? Sturtevant requested the assistance of Madison Crime Lab personnel who were busy processing and collecting evidence elsewhere from burn barrels. John Erdl, Chuck Cates, and Zhuang Zhang eventually arrived at the site and set up a sifting apparatus. Sturtevant and Deputy Jost assisted with the sifting, examination, and selection of suspected bone material and suspected teeth that were placed into a crime lab box. Additionally, pieces of a zipper and metal grommets were placed into the box. The box of suspected bone and teeth were taken by the crime lab. The sifting took place over a 6-foot by 8-foot brown tarp. The crime lab personnel used a shovel and hand tools from their vehicle to gather the contents of the burn pit. No photos were taken at the site during the sifting. A hoe and a sand rake from the adjacent residence were used to scrap the ground surface. Also noticed in the debris was a blade from a hacksaw, seat belt fastener, the metal strands from steel belted tires, a plastic jug containing an unknown substance, minuscule amount, and other unidentified items. In addition, within the site was a shovel, hammer, screwdriver, tire, and the frame of a burned vehicle seat. Note that Zhang was a crime scene photographer. The debris that was sifted was collected in the tarp. The tarp and contents was double bagged and placed in the storage trailer by Sturtevant, Strauss, and Detective Rick Reamer. It was recommended that the site be photographed and re-examined the following day during daylight hours. The search of the burn was completed at approximately 5 p.m. Sturtevant made a sketch of the area showing the location of the dirt pile and burn area on the property in relation to Steve Avery's home and garage. The sketch will be attached to this report as a related object file and forwarded to DCIR. Why would you photograph an area after it had been processed and hence disturbed? To the left-hand side, you can see the drawing that Sturtevant made, and notice the location of the bone that he had observed south that was lying in the grass, and during his testimony you can see the position of where that bone fragment was seen 8 feet south of the burn pit.
To your knowledge, did Mr. Fassbender call a forensic anthropologist out to the scene of the burn pit?
Not to my knowledge.
Okay. And this area, the whole area that was excavated was about how big?
Probably roughly the size of this table I'm sitting at.
And when you would bring over a shovel here or a shovel there, nobody kept track of where exactly in that area any particular suspected bone may have been, right?
No. Everything that was collected in this area was placed together in a box.
This area being that 4 by 5 feet?
4 by 5 foot ash pile was placed together in a box.
What was clear here was that the vertebra bone, which was marked with the red flag in the grass, was not placed into the box. The area that they sifted was strictly within the burn pit. They had not collected any other bones in the grass and placed them into the box. Dr. Eisenberg was asked a series of questions in the Stephen Avery trial. Question: okay, you identified one or more portions of the spinal column or the vertebrae. Fragments from the spinal column, yes. More than one? I believe there were. All right, and then I was at least one greater area of generality, and again, I'm sorry, what I fumbling around, but the vertebra that you found are not necessarily in the same part of the body, so to speak, as a scapula. I didn't find any whole vertebrae, but portions, I believe, of facets that allow one spinal element to stack on top of each other. So what we think of as a spine, most of it is that honeycomb bone that, right, doesn't survive well in heat, fire. So there were isolated fragments that could be identifiable as to location, but I could not tell you where along the spine they came from. So note, the vertebra bone fragment that Jost and Sipple saw in the grass could not have been human, but was animal in origin. And remember, that particular bone was never placed in the box of bones. This is a supplemental report written by investigator Joanne Mignon, and here's the relevant portion. At 12:47 p.m., Officer Jason Jost of the Manitowoc County Sheriff Department did come to relieve me so I could use the restroom and have lunch. Jost stayed with the tank while I was gone. At 1:32 p.m., I returned and relieved Jost. While speaking with Jost, we discussed the burn pit and that it seemed odd to burn tires behind a residence. I advised him of what I had observed with the dog. He stated he felt someone should be notified and check this area. I stayed in the area so I could observe both the tank and the mound area. A short time later, Lieutenant Kelly Sipple of the Calumet County Sheriff's Department did arrive. He checked the area and did find what appeared to be a bone of some type in the burned area of this mound. A member of the DCI team checked the burned area, took over scene security, and began looking through this area. Now the question is, who was supervising Sergeant Jason Jost from 12:47 p.m. to 1:32 p.m.? Sergeant Jason Jost had a key role on November the 8th, 2005. He was the conduit between Lieutenant Kelly Sipple, Tom Sturdivant, Deborah Strauss, and investigator Joe Ann Mignon from the Brilliant Police Department. He was also instrumental in calling the State Crime Lab, John Erdl, Guang Zhang, Charles Cates. They bought their sifting equipment, however, no photography was done. Bear was removed from the burn pit area on November the 8th when Stephen Avery's burn pit was sifted. The box of bones was obtained on November the 8th. However, on November the 10th, another crucial piece of evidence was discovered, allegedly in the tarp, and that was item BZ. Item BZ comprised of bone fragments and muscle tissue. Brutus did not give an alert near Stephen Avery's burn pit on November the 5th. Because HRD dogs are trained to identify the specific volatile organic compounds, VOCs, associated with human decomposition, they are capable of finding remains in various states, including those that are extremely dry or old. Why they can detect it? The scent profile. Desiccated tissue, while dry, still contains proteins and lipids that continue to break down at a molecular level. This process releases a specific VOC profile that HRD dogs are trained to recognize. Sensitivity. A well-trained HRD canine's olfactory system is sensitive enough to detect these molecules even in minute quantities, parts per trillion. Residual odor. In many cases, even if the tissue is completely mummified or desiccated, the surrounding environment or the material itself still holds the chemical markers of human decay. The question is, how did Brutus go right past item BZ? On November the 9th, more bones had been discovered.
Cameron County Sheriff.
Hey, Trace, it's Kelly.
Yes.
Can I speak to the captain, please?
Yes.
Kelsey.
Hey, Paul.
What's up?
Did you hear? There are human bones that we found?
I heard about some of them, yes.
Yep, okay. We got another pile that we found.
Okay.
Bone in, and our crime scene has now expanded by about 2 miles. What we're looking at doing is trying to find, there's no way we can organize a search this evening. We're trying to find law enforcement staff for tomorrow morning to start searching. And I don't have a state patrol supervisor.
Okay, I'll call them. How many people are you looking for from them?
You know, if we can get up to at least 40, that'd be great.
Okay. What time?
And 8 o'clock tomorrow morning.
Okay.
At the command post.
Okay.
And then if you can check with the PD, see if they can provide any staff. I want law enforcement. At this point, we're not sure if we really want firemen. We want to stick with, we know what we're looking for evidence-wise, and we kind of want to stick with that.
Okay.
I got Drutson up at command post. I'm just covering a corner right now. And when I get back, I think he can provide us some manpower as well. So from Kaukauna PD.
Okay. And Drunen?
Yeah.
Yeah. You got some scratch paper there?
Now what he's doing is he burned her in the backyard, and that was a real small pile that was left. And we got 2 5-gallon pails full down at this other site about 1.5 miles, 2 miles away, about 1.5 miles away probably. And we got a few, we got more pails full out along the way somewhere. So.
Okay.
More bones had been discovered off the Avery salvage yard. In regards to Sergeant Jason Jost, he also was present on the Avery salvage yard on November the 10th and on November the 11th. I have not seen a report outlining what his activities were on those 2 days. There are several questions for you to consider. Why did Brutus fail to alert at Stephen Avery's burn pit? Was it because of the presence of bear who barked? Why weren't the 3 outside family dogs removed by the investigators on November the 5th? How was Sergeant Jason Jost able to work it all out, whereas other law enforcement officers failed to, despite knowing about Joshua Redon's statement on November the 5th? Who told Sergeant Jason Jost to feed the family dogs on the Avery salvage yard on November the 7th? Who was supervising Sergeant Jason Jost at the burn pit while Officer Mignon had left her post? Why was Sergeant Jason Jost requested to write a formal report about his activities? What was Sergeant Jason Jost doing in Redon's quarry and the Manitowoc County gravel pit with several teams of HRD canines and their dog handlers? Where are his reports? Thank you very much for listening to the presentation. I appreciate it very much. My name is Dr. Silkman, and I am from the Foul Play team. I don't know if you're able to answer this, Bobby, but I will ask you. What was Bear's personality or demeanor like, if you know? Do you know what I'm asking you? He was really calm.
That was a mean dog.
There was no way to search it with that dog there.
That was a mean dog.